A nation that cannot control its borders is not a nation. Ronald Reagan. Good day, everyone. Today, on the internet, I'll be providing an answer to the video the amazing atheist published named The Islam Paradox. What do we do? Or at least giving it my best at perhaps some sort of solution to the presented dilemma. Now, I won't be playing the video or clips of it for sake of addressing his points in whole, though I will be briefly summarizing them and what I find to be the three largest parts of it. I will, of course, also be linking said video through the cards, and certainly, I recommend that you all go watch TJ's original video for the entire context. Now, as I've mentioned, I found that TJ's video falls fairly neatly in three main chunks of sentiment, and so as I understand them, I'll lay them out. The first being from the start to 543, that the United States often uses as a rallying cry the stand for our morals. Those morals are, at least most commonly amongst decent citizens, the value of free speech and religion. With that said, it would be impossible for us, as ones so fiercely calling out for the rise of liberty and autonomy, to simply demand Islamists that wish to migrate legally separate themselves from their religion and halt their freedom of speech because they're ideologically opposed to just those freedoms and general Western values. Else we're acting a little different than their ideology would prod them to do, working to erode and stand opposed to just those morals and values that are often pegged as vital amongst Americans. And this much is absolutely true. We cannot just demand ethical, religious, and moral assimilation as a prerequisite of joining our big club built on the grounds of your right to diverge as much as you care to, within reason, on all of these fronts. To make such a substantial requirement for compliance would be a tremendous irony, and would utterly kill any claims of allegiance to such principles, were we to make such a move. Not only, but it would steepen a slippery slope that, as TJ mentioned in regards to the political reaction to 9/11, and other events, has begun. That is, such a downward spiral towards the continual stripping away of the already wearing rights we as citizens possess for the sake of stability and safety, amongst other gilded promises. Indeed, the slow decay of individual rights we are already deep in the midst of could well be dug even deeper with any such action. The second chunk, from 543 to 839, is on what is currently considered a right-wing, more conservative stance today being the most sensible and obvious answer when it comes to border security and migration laws. There must actually be some. Meanwhile, many more party-line-towing liberals will prefer much looser borders, even from countries with infamously radical cultures and extremist anti-West perceptions, utterly failing to see just how far down European quality of life has come thanks to just the same idealism and edicts based on it. That same sort of thought feeds into the false narrative of American exceptionalism, that America simply is great by default, and we needn't learn from the world's history's defeats nor victories in order to improve it. Now, the previous is a section that I think synergizes quite well with the third and final point. If we cut the freedoms that are enjoyed by everyone for being a member of this religion that brings people to terrible, abhorrent acts, and preach it directly against the freedoms they're employing to spread their virulent, vile, and venomous ideology, then we instantly devalue any base of principle for the previously mentioned values and rights and ideals. Meanwhile, in juxtaposition with this looming threat, we have codified large crowds of people to either the hard right or left, neither offering anything but useless, sophistic rhetoric that could pose quite a threat itself, left unchecked. And here was asked the question: should I join this camp that condemns the majority of Muslims as a matter of course, regardless of their personal religious affiliation and belief, moderate and westernized, and extreme and radical alike? Shall I narrow my view in this way such that I can find the answer in xenophobia's embrace, in the law of averages despite the hundreds of thousands which subscribe not to the nasty set of ideals some of their fellows do? Or is it the other that offers the lesser of two evils? Grant any and all who wish to join us like our colonial ancestors ease of entry, though their very root and core of worldview runs in its sum total counter to that which all of us who give a damn about the meaning and presence of that which the Constitution Bill of Rights and philosophy of the individual seek to establish and maintain? That we remain steady in our convictions? Do we take the mantle of the pacifist fool and watch as a vast majority of these newcomers spawn havoc, slowly and surely with their arrival? With the former, what would become of the rights of us all? If we disallow people entry simply for what is at the time their beliefs and not actions, does this not follow the definition of declaring such a belief a thought crime? History, in all its bloody annals, has well shown us where such a policy may well take us. Accepting the latter with the immense ease with which insular radical and exclusive sectarian ideals are implanted in those familiar and friendly to Islamism, we may look across the pond to the poor nations self-inflicting blooming crime and vice upon themselves for sake of beating superficial, fabricated straw-man talking points. The classic, "you're racist if you don't allow a flood of Middle Eastern migrants," in spite of the easily predictable repercussions, and coincidental selective ignorance or downplaying of religiously extremist acts, and misconduct of migrants en general, being perhaps the most common straw-man cast. So then, what do we do? I arrive at the same destination as TJ has, but with a card up my sleeve. I propose that we may yet build a happy middle ground with a concept quite novel: the process of naturalization. Yes, indeed, general knowledge of our language, grasping snippets of more recent and farther yesteryear's national history, understanding Western philosophy, and a strong grip on the important local and federal laws and rights. These are, at the least in my opinion, the basic requirements any immigrant seeking residence for longer than 5 years should possess. Those looking for less than 5 years residence should at least possess an understanding of the important federal and general laws and enumerated rights of the United States citizen, a basic understanding of our language, and hold a competent awareness of Western philosophy. All of this may easily be accomplished by offering as a formal agreement for admission to the nation the fulfillment of government-verified and accredited college classes on these subjects that would provide these necessary credentials. These courses, following the previous rubric, could either be hosted in the home nation of the would-be U.S. citizen, or right here, have one designated in each state primarily along the borders, or a mix. The colleges could be federally subsidized or left to their own funding. Housing and food could be provided pro bono, or paid for by the migrant in question, or have any number of configurations. The main thrust here, though, is to offer a clear path to naturalization in the United States in a controlled scholastic environment that could guarantee both short and long-term residents a proper feel for where they intend to be living. This, in conjunction with rigorous vetting for nationals that hail from countries infamous for producing harmful and terroristic immigrants, and condoning and proliferating toxic ideologies, would in theory stem the import of the horrors radical religiosity may breed, while allowing those average, law-abiding, decent people who would join into the country all of their rights. And, in fact, perhaps even imbue them with more knowledge on the nation and its fundamentals than many Americans should already wield, but more often than not, don't. Instead of being faced with the culture shock and language barrier immediately, which by some common sense would be a good reason to remain within like groups of migrants or speakers of their first tongue which may seek to plant radical anti-West ideologies, they will have been immersed for a fair time in Western and primarily U.S. culture, order, and language. At minimum, this will root out the weak-willed that would travel across oceans to inflict harm upon us. Thank you all for listening. Whether you found my content enjoyable or detestable, please give a thumbs up or down, share the video with others, subscribe and contribute to the discussion via my social media, join the community at our Discord server through the invite link below, and engage with your fellow watcher via the comments below that. If you'd like to support my channel, help me produce videos, and engage with you all with more frequency, or show your appreciation, I would petition you to become my patron via Patreon, or donate via the PayPal link in the description below. The link to my Patreon page where you may accomplish this and receive rewards based on the amount donated is listed in the description, just below the PayPal. Till then, everyone, this has been Xilver,